10 cartons of goods worth 10 million naira. So the goods, everything with your profits is with the customer. Customer is saying, I'm going to pay you back in 90 days. So for that 90 days, your 10 million naira is that customer. Whether customer is finished selling your goods or not, you are just waiting for 90. And with that 90 days, if that is all the cash you have in your hand, you will not have funds to produce more goods. You will not have funds for your operating expenses, right? So that will put you in limbo. And a lot of times, a lot of SMEs, because of this, in case you don't know, sometimes the customers they are giving 90 days to, they will sell your products within 5 days. So they have money with them for the remaining 90 days. So what you're doing, you're just funding your customers' lifestyle or their own businesses. So you need to look at a way that how do I treat my receivables that they come in on time, right? These are a few things that you can look at. You can reduce your credit terms. You can offer early payment discount. You can tell your customers that, look, anytime you pay me early, instead of 10 million naira, I'll take 9.5 million naira from you. A lot of customers will like that and they'll try to pay early. You need to introduce penalties for late repayments. Believe you me, in as much as I know for SMEs, we'll say, we need to give them credit so that we'll continue to have customers. And at the same time, you need to survive. So one of the ways to help your receivables, you can create a penalty for late payment. You can tell them, look, if you don't pay me on time, especially if you understand that your goods are well, there are some goods that that this gets, it's a major thing for your customers, right? You can tell them that, look, anytime you pay late, there'll be a fine for it. Either I reduce my amount or I reduce the quantity that I'll be selling to you. These are things that will help your cash flow and help your receivables coming on time. You can invoice immediately. You can use milestone billings, right? You can say, okay, look, maybe for the first 30 days, I'll give you this, you pay me back. Once you pay me back, I'll supply you more and so forth. Rather than giving out the whole 10 million naira, you can say, okay, hello, are we together? Did someone ask a question now? Okay, did somebody ask a question now? I'd just like to know. Can you still hear me?
Yeah.
Sorry?
Yes, we can.
Okay, all right. So these are things that you need to do to ensure that your receivables come in on time. That you have money on paper does not make you a rich person. That you have money in your account and inside your pocket is what makes you a rich person. We've seen so many people give out money and they are unable to. So you can imagine you've given out 10 million naira worth of good. On paper, you have 10 million naira, but in your pocket, you have nothing. You cannot pay your staff. You cannot pay for your expenses. You cannot pay your rent. That would be a problem. So one of the ways in which you can manage, these are just a few examples on how to manage your receivables, right? That will help you in the long run to ensure that it comes down, right? Cash collection discipline is survival. The more you're able to get your cash, the easier it is for you to survive and the easier it is for your company to also keep growing, right? So we talked about how to manage fixed income, how to establish emergency funds. Now we're talking about revenue streams. Recall that one of the things we talked about in those 4 things that those companies that survive is that they were not dependent on just one source, right? They had diversification of income, right? Do not depend on one big customer. Yes, it is great to have, but it is also a risk, right? It is a big risk because that's what we call concentration risk. If that customer goes off, right, you're going to have a problem. So let's say you're making 1 million naira in revenue, in sales every week. And out of that 1 million naira, it is one customer that gives you 900,000. The week the customer doesn't buy anything, you're going to be in trouble because you're going to have just 100,000. So try as much as it is better to have 100 customers giving you 1,000 naira, right, than having one customer give you 10,000. Right, so it is better. Don't depend on one customer. Try to have as much, even if you have one big customer, try as much as possible to have other multiple customers. Don't just be servicing one customer because it is a serious concentration risk. Try and diversify from one product because one product means one source of revenue. But when you have multiple products serving different segments of the market, you can ensure that you are going to have different incomes coming in, right? So if you are selling parfait, you should also look at whether you can start selling coconut as well or coconut oil, or you start selling fruit by the side because parfait and fruit go together. In other words, just don't sell one product. Look for ways in which you can diversify. You can introduce other products. If you're into fashion, in as much as you're sewing, you should look for a way that you can also start selling materials. So as you're selling material to customer, you're sewing. Those are 2 different sources of income, right? You can also start a training and where you can start to train people on how to sew. Look for a way to ensure that you're not just focused on one product. One location is also can be a limitation because number one, it will not even spread your reach. But when you have multiple locations, it also helps you. multiple channels also an avenue that will help you. Don't just be someone that they come to your place. No, look for other ways in which you can reach out to your customers or in which customers can reach out to you. Thank God we're now in the era of digital. You can go to social media. LinkedIn is there, YouTube is there, Facebook is there. You can reach out to multiple platforms, multiple channels that people can reach out to you. Depending on just one channel, one customer, one product, is serious concentration risk which everybody should run away from. You can add a subscription model, just like what these guys did. Now, okay, every year once you pay, you can recurrent payment that look, I will service you for 1 month. After the month, just pay automatically and I'll service you again. Add digital channels to your product. Introduce complementary products. If you are selling shoes, start introducing shoe horn. If you are selling shoes, start introducing socks. If you are selling a shirt, start introducing tie. Those are the things that help you as a salesperson. That's what, if you check most digital platforms now, the moment you buy something, the next thing you see, they'll tick that the person that bought this shoe also bought this thing. The person that bought this also bought this thing. That's try to help you to, to complement products and of course, try to cross-sell to existing clients. Cross-selling will save you more than looking for new customers. So if you have 10 customers buying a particular product, you can also try new products on these 10 customers that already have existing in you. So cross-selling products to existing customers is one of the ways in which you can also generate revenue, right? So these are the things. Remember, we've talked about having an emergency fund. We've talked about managing your fixed income. We've talked about, your fixed costs. We've talked about your receivables, how you can ensure that your cash flow is coming in properly. Now we've talked about diversification of revenue, which means that you can look at different ways to earn, different platforms to earn, different locations to earn, so that you're not just looking at just one source of income. Recall, these are lessons. These are not just ideas. These are lessons from companies that have gone through financial crisis, that have gone through crisis, and they've survived. Because crisis will always occur. I'm sure a lot of us knew beginning of the year or beginning of this this dispensation, this political dispensation of APC. The first thing that was done was subsidy was removed and fuel price skyrocketed. Imagine if you were not prepared, what would have happened? Right? So a lot of things can happen. COVID is one of those things that happened that disrupted. FX was one of the things that happened again. We could see the FX volatility. Now we are seeing Dangote announced that they're going to increase fuel price. How prepared are we to absorb those shocks? That crisis will occur. That shocks will happen. Yes, it will happen. The question is not if it will happen, but when it happens. Are you ready? Are you protected? Are you ready? Are you preserved? Are you protected to ensure that you will survive? Okay, so we've talked about this, receivables. Like I said, a lot of people are financing their customers on it. You need to reduce your credit. You have to offer early payment discount. Oh, sorry, I went back. Now, when we say, we've talked about how you can help. First part was looking at your cash flow and how you can actually present your cash flow. Number one, we've talked about you should have emergency funds. Emergency fund, you should have a place, you should have a separate account where you have certain funds that this fund is strictly for emergency savings. Right, emergency in order to meet your operations. That in case anything happens, I have something to fall back on that will cover my operating expense. Please note that the emergency fund is for your operating expense, is for you to bounce back for crisis. Right? We talked about how you can manage your fixed income, how you can reduce cost. This question you can ask yourself when it comes to rent. Now, do you even need to hire? Can you just leverage? So, for example, like one of the things that I love about what our partners do, one of the things they provide. Let's say one of the things they provide, you have places, office stations that you can go for free. That you can go because you're a partner with them, you can go there. You don't need to go and rent a block of flats. You don't need to go and rent an office. You can just have your meetings and you go home, right? These are things that you have innovation hubs that you can have. So these are kind of things that will help you in terms of your fixed cost, right? And then we talked about how to how to increase your revenue streams, having multiple products, having multiple locations, leveraging on multiple channels and so forth. Now we're looking at how do you prepare for crisis, right? Crisis will not announce themselves when they will happen. The question is, how do you prepare for crisis? Like I said, economic recession can happen. Nobody can predict when it will happen. FX volatility, we've seen it happen. And regulatory changes, one policy can destroy everything, right? Supply chain disruption. Your suppliers, something can happen that will disrupt their supply chain that either will push this. So, for example, you are someone that leverages on or that relies on certain products to be imported into the country. And guess what happens if the tariff should increase and your supplier said, okay, look, I can't because of the increase in tariff, I can't come to your country again. What will happen? right? We've said do not rely on major client because the moment the client leaves, what happens to you? These are economic shocks. These are crises that can happen to any SME. And of course, even for the SME, for the leader or for the owners of, you can have health or leadership crisis, right? What happens when this happens? What would you do? How will you survive? And of course, we see cyber risk as well. A lot of time right now, we've seen a lot of cyber risk going on. Companies being hacked, companies information being held at ransom. So when these things occur, what will you do? So I keep saying it. The question is not if crisis will occur. Crisis will occur. The question is when will it occur? And when it occurs, how are you prepared to manage it? So now, what are things that you need to do when it comes to crisis? Before crisis, right? Before crisis happened, you need to define the following. Remember I said that you see CBN saying that they want to do stress tests for banks. That in case a crisis occur, will this bank survive? Then they'll put different scenarios. They'll do different things. They'll check the bank standing. They will now say, okay, look, these three banks, they will survive any crisis that occurs, right? It's just a scenario. You need to do the same thing for your business, right? You need to ask a question before a crisis occurs. These are the ways in which you create a crisis playbook. These are things that you know how to prepare so that when a crisis occurs, you're already prepared. So these are things you need to ask yourself. Which expenses can be cut first? Remember, we talked about fixed costs. You look at the things. Once you've asked those questions in those fixed cost area, you can ask, okay, what expenses do I need to cut first if a crisis should occur? You need to look at your business. Those expenses that when you cut off will not adversely affect your operations. You know, there are some things you are currently enjoying now because it is a good to have, because yes, you have room for it. Those expenses, you can remove them, right? You can now decide, okay, look, for this period, I can cut off this. Those are things you need to list down. Number two, if a crisis, if an emergency should occur, who will make emergency decisions? Is it me? Is it the accountant? Is it the head of HR? You need to define all these things down before the emergencies occur, right? It's just like I know for a lot of organizations, you see them doing drills, fire drills, right? Now, in case fire should occur, this is where you take, this is what you happen. So the day fire occurs, everybody's already prepared. They already know what to do, and it helps to save life. It's the same thing. When a crisis will occur, when a crisis should occur, who are the people that will make emergency decisions? You need to write it down, right? How do we communicate these kind of things to staff and to member of places? What are the backup suppliers? Should the crisis occur to our suppliers? If there's a failure, if a supplier that we depend on says that, okay, look, Kende, I can't bring goods into your country again, do I have backup suppliers in the country that can help me with this? These questions, as simple as they are, a lot of SMEs do not ask them before crisis occur. When crisis now occur, they now start looking for them. But imagine you have all these answers. The moment your supplier tells you that, Kende, I can't bring goods into the country again. But because you've already created a playbook, you already know, okay, look, there are these suppliers in the country that can supply. You just move straight to them. You won't be like other SMEs that will start looking for what options do they have. Preparation, when preparation meets opportunity, that's when you become successful, right? What are liquidity sources? When we say what are your cash flow options? Do you have investments? Do you have money that you can go and meet? Do you have liquidable asset that you can quickly liquidify? So for example, if you have money in fixed deposits in your bank, right? You can always go to the bank today and say, please liquidate my fixed deposit. Within 24 hours, you get your cash. If you have money invested in land, you cannot sell a land within, I'm not sure if there are land, if you are guys in real estate, how easy is it for you to sell the land within 1 week, within 2 weeks? At least I've been trying to sell a property now in Agege for almost 2 months now. People have been coming, going, and for almost 3 months now. So you see, your resources, you have to be liquid. And that's what liquidity simply talks about how quick can you get cash? Whatever you have, how easily can you convert it into cash? Right? So that these are things you need to find out from yourself. These are things you need to sit down as a business owner, write them down and make those decisions, because crisis will not announce themselves. Crisis will not tell you that, hey, guys, guess what? I'm coming tomorrow. Are you ready? Crisis will always occur. But the question is, once you are prepared, that is when you can overcome this kind of crisis. Okay. Now, ask yourself this, of course. Now, I was talking about stress tests for companies, stress tests for banks that CBN does. Ask yourself this question. Just carry stress test your company. That what if my revenue drops by 30%? What will happen? Will I be able to meet up with my expenses? If Naira should depreciate for excess, if my top client should leave, what if access to bank credit, I don't have it again? Maybe I get overdraft to meet my needs. If they stop doing it, what happens? A lot of people, you'll be surprised how overdraft has killed a lot of companies because they are so reliant on it. They never built up their own cash opportunities. So these are things that we need to look at. You need to ask this question, right? The what if question. Every quarter, you should sit down and ask yourself. And you notice that the moment you start making these preparations, as you're asking yourself what if every quarter, you see that you are improving every single time. It gets to a point that you know that, yes, if anything goes wrong, you will survive, right? A lot of us make that mistake. And because of the nature of our culture, a lot of people keep pitting that God is my helper. But God even tells us that we should prepare. He says only a foolish man spends everything. The wise will always reserve something for the future day. The wise man does not eat everything. So even God will tell you that you should prepare, right? Don't now, not in time of crisis, now start praying. No, you prepare for crisis, right? So as when they come, you are able to overcome those crises. Now, okay, one of the things that also that SMEs also ignore when it comes to preparation. When it comes to preparation, right? When it comes to preparing for shocks, a lot of SMEs. So we're going to do it. We're going to do a quick poll here, right? If you're a business owner here, can you just raise up your hand? Just wave. Let me just know. How many of us are business owners here? Do a thumbs up. Or just type I in the chat box. Yes, just type I in chat box. If you're a business, if you're by that small business life, whatever it is, please type I in the chat box. Thank you, Rita. Saying your name. Yes, who again? Yes, Latifat, Benjamin. Okay, who again? It can't be just these people are business owners here. Thank you, Oluwafemi. Right. Any other person? Yes. Nasiru. Any other person? Okay. So after the business owners here, how many of us have insurance here? Type me, I get. Let me see if you have insurance for your business, because this is one of the things that a lot of SMEs always think, the money is not worth it. But believe you me, when crisis occur, this is what will help you bounce back faster. So if you're one of those, if you have an insurance, just put me, I get insurance. Okay, Honesty, Rosemary, Nasiru, Olufemi, anybody? Wow, nobody yet. Good. So I just needed us to see this, right? So that we understand the power of insurance, right? A lot of SMEs do not have insurance, and insurance is one of the things that will help you bounce back immediately in times of crisis. I'm sure you've seen recently, we've heard of the fire outbreak that happened in Lagos recently. I don't know how many of those shops have got insurance covering their goods, but believe me, a lot of people lost millions and millions. While some will be crying, very few of them will bounce back because they have insurance. So please, as SME owners, as business owners, you need to have insurance. Business interruption insurance, key man insurance, health cover for your staff or for yourself, asset insurance, cover your goods, your liability insurance, right? You need to have insurance. Maybe I pray one of these days, our partners will be able to, put up a course on insurance to let you know how insurance plays a major role in SME, how to help you survive, right? So insurance is important. You need to have it. You can have goods worth 100 million. Let's say you have a goods worth 5 million in your store. I can bet you that the insurance on that thing won't be up to 100,000 or 200,000 max. So you can imagine you're paying 100,000 to cover your goods that in case anything happens, I will be paid 5 million naira back. So imagine you have assets here and this fire, that outbreak that happened occurs and all the goods are lost. The only reason a person will survive instantly is if the person has insurance, because insurance will just give you the money back. And you don't even need to go and touch your emergency funds. But a lot of business owners tend to feel insurance is expensive or it's a waste of money. It is never a waste of money. All surviving, go and check it. All entities that survive or are strong, they always have an insurance cover for their property, for their asset, their goods, for themselves. Because your health, look, let me give you an example. You have two people, right? And then they both fall ill. And then they have to pay, let's say, medical fee of 250,000 naira. One of them has to pay out of pocket, means he has to go into the savings and pay. The other already has HMO that he paid just about 30 or 40,000 naira, and HMO pays 250. Who is better off out of the two? That's what insurance does for you. I don't want us to be blind. Insurance is very, very important. Insurance, the purpose of insurance is to ensure that you are back to your feet in no time. Right? So you can imagine when the fire incident occurs, two people shop by shop, they both have goods of 10 million naira. One has insured, the other has not insured. The one that insured does go to the insurance company and they pay back the money for the goods, 10 million naira, and the next is back up and running. But the one without insurance start looking for money. And if let's say now doesn't have emergency funds stored up, what happens? That means the business is gone. So ladies and gentlemen, I would advise, please get an insurance cover for yourself, for your goods, for your assets. You need to have insurance. It helps you from spending unnecessary when events occur. How many of us have woken up by driving our car? We've said, today a downfall driver will hit my car and I'll be okay with it. Nobody knows. It just happens. But when it happens, how prepared are you to take the shock? Insurance is part of this that helps you build your resilience. Remember, we've talked about cash flow. We've talked about streams of revenue. We've talked about things that you need to ask yourself when and how to prepare, things that you need to do in terms of crisis preparation, prepare for crisis, right? And of course, we also talk about, so insurance will be the last one we're talking about. I'll just like to quickly do a quick recap when we talk about building resilience. All the things we've said is going to help you to survive. People wonder that, in terms of crisis, only few companies. Remember those companies I said, they didn't just survive, they thrived. Because by the time the crisis was over, demand now became so much. They were the only ones that could supply. And guess what? They will multiply. They will grow in numbers. That is just the beautiful thing about people that prepare. Preparation plus opportunity is what will give you the success. When you are prepared in times of crisis, that's what will make you thrive and make you excel. That's what makes you stand out amongst your peers. And things that we've talked about are just ways in which you can prepare. You need to have an emergency fund somewhere. In a liquid investment, in a cash in your bank, you need to have an emergency fund. You need to have insurance over your product. Because even if you say you're a very careful person, next year now, I'm sure if you look at some years ago, I don't know how many of us prepared for SARS that were called the crisis SARS that happened, where we had massive disruption of property. How many people were prepared for it? There were a lot of stores that were damaged, but because they were not prepared, they were not insured, things happen. So crisis will always happen. Like I said, it is not if it will happen, it is when it happens, are you prepared for it? So my advice for us, right? My parting gift for us is, as we live here today, you need to sit down by yourself or with your team, calculate your 3 months operating expenses. Sit down and look at your expenses. How much is my monthly expenses? How much will 3 months be? You need to calculate it. You need to understand it. Then 2, you need to set up a separate emergency fund account. Look, you don't have to put everything once, but you can start little by little. Let's say, for example, you realize that every month you need to pay 100,000 in terms of operating expense, salaries, rent, you need to do this, right? 100,000 every month. 3 months means you need to have 300,000 in a separate emergency fund account that will help you in terms of emergency. You can start today by putting, even if it's 10,000, 20,000, 50,000, 100,000 in a separate account every month, right? So you can use maybe for the next 6 years for the next 6 months or next 1 year, you've built up that emergency fund. You need to have it before you even start spending on yourself, right? To secure a future, because what you save today is what will save you tomorrow. Right? You need to receive your receivable aging report. Look at it. Okay, my receivables, how often do they come back? Right? You need to sit and really study this thing. You need to identify your top 3 reduction opportunities that in case crisis occur, what are those 3 things that can quickly reduce that will help save costs, right? And then you need to develop a 1-page crisis response plan. That's when you ask the question, what are those things that can cut off? Who is the person that makes the decision? What are the alternatives that I have? Do you understand? Those are the things that you need to do. So as soon as we finish, sure, while we're still here, I need a lot of us to start putting these things down, to start exploring these opportunities, to start looking at these 5 things and start writing it down. Because we've spoken now, nobody can say that in terms of crisis, that LSATF has not prepared you enough, that have not given you the tool to survive. Because at the end of the day, if something happens now down the line, we're going to look back and say, okay, look, How many of our people are still standing? And we want to ensure that all our people are standing. And that's why I said this is one of the things I love about our partner. They put you first. They put the SME, your survivor first, not just in terms of giving you money, not just don't give you, but there's so many supports in terms of your places that you can, in terms of places where you can, they give you support in how easy it is for you to do your businesses. They give you support in terms of finances, and they give support in terms of knowledge, in terms of protecting that which you have. So this is one of those things, and I really appreciate them once again, and I would love to appreciate everyone here as well. That please ensure that your business is ready, because if anything should happen, you are the first people I'll first call. All those guys that raise their names, I'll come and check for you straight. That where are my people? You must be the ones in the forefront, right? I'm able to boast that yes, these guys, they were there, they learned the lesson, and they're surviving with it. Okay. So once again, I'd just like to say a big thank you. We have come to the end of this. So resilient businesses, they survive shocks, they capture opportunities. Remember, when the shock happens, everybody will die. And then remember when they did the bank reconciliation, the first bank recapitalization that was done in Nigeria. We had over 100 banks. By the time everything went up, we had just 25 banks standing, and those 25 banks became big because they don't survive the shocks. So the questions will really be big when it happens. So resilient businesses, they survive shocks. They capture opportunity, because believe in me, during times of crisis, opportunities always come after crisis. So you'll be able to capture, then they buy assets when others are panicking. Remember, when you have emergency fund, others will start selling things at ridiculous prices. But because you have cash, you just start buying it. You just start buying it because you are prepared. The question is preparation. The comment is preparation. And of course, during crisis, people that are prepared, they gain market share. Cash flow resilience is not defensive. It is a So thank you very much. And I guess it's time for question. And if you have any questions, if you want any clarification, please either put on chat box, or please just feel free to, I don't know if you can unmute and ask a question, or just stop here and then I'll call your name. Okay, so I'm going to stop sharing so I can see people talking. Is that fine?
Thank you so much, Mr. Kaine. I don't know if you can hear me.
Yes, I can.
Thank you so much, Mr. Kaine, for such an insightful session. I'm very sure our participants have learned a lot from today's session. So please, if you have questions, I also recognize those that are following us via our social media platforms. So please, if you have questions, you can please drop your questions in the chat box. But for those that are following us on Zoom, in order for us not to lose your questions, you can either use okay, I can see someone's hand is up. I will be giving you permission to unmute so that you can go ahead to ask your question. So Oluwafemi, please, you can go ahead to ask your question. Oluwafemi Sumbo, if you can hear me, you've been given permission to unmute.
Okay. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Please, you can go ahead to ask your question.
Okay, my question is based on the consider business, consider, like on how many SMS is not this, so we should consider. And my question is, how much can you be making a month or a year that will warrant you to have insurance? Like maybe let's just assume I'm making, maybe in a month I'm making 30,000 or 50,000. Are you saying I can do an insurance with that amount of money, with what I make on a monthly basis or on a daily basis?
Okay, thank you, Oluwafemi. Yeah, and I think, oh yes, so when it comes to insurance, right, when we say insurance, so it's not a function of how much you make, it's a function of what are you protecting. So what do you do? What business do you do? Oluwafemi, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Yes,
Yeah,
I
so
can hear you.
what business do you do? What's your business? What business are you into?
I sell the fabric and also sell jewelry.
Exactly. So you sell fabrics. So what you're insuring is your fabrics, right? So let's say you have fabrics in your store now worth, let's just say 1 million naira, right? What you're going to insure is that, okay, insurance company, every time I always have 1 million naira worth of fabric in my shop. I want to insure those fabric, right? It should, in case anything happens at any time, if there's a fire, if somebody breaks in and steals my fabric, Insurance company will pay the money.
Okay.
Now, insurance will just look at the cost of the fabric and then ask you to pay a certain amount. For that 1 million, I'm sure probably you'll be paying about what? I'm sure 10%, no, yeah, 10%, yeah, you'll be paying less than 100,000 in a year. So I'm sure for that 1 million, I'm paying about 20,000 or 30,000. So what happens is that you're paying the insurance company 30,000 naira in a year. That 30,000 for a whole year.
Okay.
And you're saying that for the whole year, so let's say you pay 30,000 1st of January. Your attention from 1st of January to 31st of December. If anything should happen to my goods, whether fire, whether somebody steals, whether SARS occurs and they come and carry it, whether there's a heavy flood, rain that causes, whether the building, do you understand? Insurance company will pay you money for your clothes. So that's what insurance does. So the best thing is, what is the thing you're insuring? How much is it? And they'll tell you, okay, this is the cost of what you have to have. Some insurance company has even made it so easy that you don't have to pay it once. They can tell you that you can pay quarterly, you can pay biannually, right? So that's how insurance works. So that's why I tell people, look, so you can say that you're paying 30,000 for how much goods? 1 million naira worth of goods. And in case anything in the whole year, in case anything happens, they will pay you back for your goods. Right. So that's why I need us to start thinking like that. That's why in foreign countries, especially the Western world, they don't joke with insurance because they understand the value of insurance. Insurance will help. So imagine if anything happens to your shop, insurance will pay up immediately. So it's not a function of how much you make, it's a function of what are the things you're insuring. And a lot of times, yes, and a lot of times insurance is usually less than 1% of that thing you're insuring. Okay, is that fine?
Yes, sorry, sir. What if your fabrics are in your house from your home? You don't have a walk-in store that people can able to walk in. If you have the fabric in your house, maybe when people order, you take it like you first drive, take it there, but you don't have a walk-in store. Can you also do that?
Yes. So you can insure the store. Because guess what? If a flood should happen, water should enter the place. It doesn't matter if you can insure the store, you can insure the store, you can insure the fabrics. You can even ensure that, okay, look, when my dispatch is taking the goods to my customer, if anything should happen to that goods, we will pay. The insurance can still cover on that. You can even insure that. Right? I know somebody, I think Joseph said he has goods, it's called the goods in transit. So you can also insure your so you know, sometimes we underestimate the power of insurance. So let me give you an example. If that, let's say you have a competitor, you and your friend, you dispatch your goods to a client, and along the way, something happens to the, let's say the rider. Maybe he was hit or he was stolen, right? You can lay a claim and you insure the goods, right? You can just go to insurance company and say, okay, look, insurance, so this happened while this person, and insurance company will pay you for the value of the goods. So you can now give your customer another one. You know, you've not spent anything, but the other person has to go and take out of their own money to supply the customer again, which is a loss. So you can say how insurance helps you. So for you, you've not even done anything. The only thing you just pay is just a small amount, and insurance has covered that thing. So yes, you can cover the goods while it's in transit. It's called goods in transit. You can cover your shop. You can cover the goods inside the shop. Yes.
Thanks so much. I appreciate it.
All right. Another question?
Okay, thank you so much, Mr. Oluwafemi, for your question. So do we have any other question for Mr. Kehinde? So you can use the raise hand icon, and then you'll be given permission to ask your question. Please, do we have any other question? So if you know you're following us on our other social media platforms too, please, if you do have questions, you can please drop your questions in the chat box and they will be attended to. Okay, so it will seem as though we don't have any other questions. So in the absence of any other question, Mr. Kehinde would like to appreciate you a whole lot for taking out time of your busy schedule to take us through today's session. I'm very sure a lot of our participants have learned a lot. So if you know that you'd like to go through this session again, you can go to our YouTube channel to rewatch this particular session. Thank you so much, everyone, for creating time off your busy schedules to attend today's session. We would like to also appreciate our facilitator. So please, can we please first appreciate Mr. Kainde in the chat box, tell him thank you. Can we appreciate the facilitator in the chat box? While I also say thank you so much, Mr. Kainde, for taking out time.
Thank you very
We
much
look
for
forward to
having me.
having you. We look forward to having you on our other sessions later in the year. And yeah, we can see our participants are really appreciative of you taking our time. Thank you so much. We appreciate you. Thank you so much, everyone, also that has taken our time to come learn with us today. Please be on the lookout for our next session. We'll be having more sessions. We'll be bringing more sessions your way next week. So please follow us on all our social media platforms. Like I said earlier, when we started the session, you can follow us on our Instagram page. You can follow us on Facebook. You can follow us on X. You can follow us on LinkedIn. We are at Lagos State Employment Trust Fund on all of these social media platforms. Turn on your post notifications so that when we have programs that can benefit you as a resident of Lagos, you do not miss out on any of these programs. We're here for you, and what we aim to do is to ensure that we provide for you all the necessary materials or the necessary programs that you need to either help scale your business, either through our physical, our virtual programs, or through our access to finance. So thank you so much, everyone, and we do hope that you enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you so much, Mr. Kennedy.
Thank you very much for having me, and have a great